where Boyd grabbed her from the night before. You can see bruises left from his fingers, and that is some excellent attention to detail on the part of the producers here.
Oh yeah, yeah,
and to show how aggressive that tangle that they got into in the cabin was, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a detail because, like you were saying earlier, you haven't seen something like that. That interaction between Ava and Boyd, basically, that's not something we've seen all series.
Nope, nothing like that, right? I mean, like we've seen women have violence done to them for sure, but not sort of in an intimate way like that was.
Yeah. And it goes back to, because I always think, like she put up with Bowman.
Yep.
As basically an abused or a battered wife or battered woman. And there's always that part that I don't understand, and maybe I'll never be able to understand the what keeps a woman, what keeps her stay,
what makes her stay in that situation. Yeah. I don't know. And there's any number of things, but it's going to be specific to the woman. I think it's not. Yeah. So they're all going to have their reasons, right? Sometimes there's kids involved. Sometimes they don't have another feasible choice from an economic standpoint. Sometimes there's other family members involved that make things complicated, but yeah. So she's basically a battered spouse now, just not being physically beaten up. Although there is, we've seen this little physical altercation between Ava and Boyd now. There's also this moment where Boyd stands up from the fire, and it's before he pulls the gun out, but he stands up and walks towards Ava, and we see the gun tucked into the back of his pants, and they very specifically cut the camera and angled it in such a way that we could see that. And again, I think that's really, really good work. It's more subtle than I think we're used to on Justified, and it's excellent work from the director and from the producers there to kind of imply the malice before the malice actually happens. It's right before. It's like 30 seconds before, but it's there, right? And it's also, hey, look, he was killing a boar. Maybe he killed the boar with that gun. Maybe that's not why he has it. It's for Ava. But then you're like, well, wait a minute. Would he really try and kill a 200-pound pig or 300-pound pig with a pistol? I don't think so.
No, he took that rifle with him.
Yeah.
Right? To shoot the pig.
So the pistol is for Ava. And that pistol is empty, we find out after the fact. So he hands it to Ava at one point, tells her, if you're banging Raylan, just shoot me right in the head. And Walton Goggins bashes himself in the forehead half a dozen times, audibly. And you can hear it on even in my audio clip, you can hear it. It's something. I don't know if they sweetened that audio or if that's the actual audio. It sounds pretty convincingly real. So,
yeah.
Otherwise, props to the Foley artist. So, but so he gave her an opportunity, right? He gives her the gun, tells her if you're banging Raylan, just go ahead and shoot me. And he puts the gun in her hand, and she doesn't do anything with it. She just hands it back to him. We find out after their conversation that the gun was empty the whole time. He didn't have any bullets in it when he was pointing it at her, and he definitely didn't have any bullets in it when he handed it to her to potentially kill him. So it was a loyalty test. Can I trust you? I think the thing that stands out the most to me about this conversation, though, is that Ava admits being a CI for Raylan. She talks about how he abandoned her in prison, and all he wanted was a deal to get himself out of trouble, get a clean slate for himself, didn't give a crap about her. She tells him all of that, and what's his question back to her? Did you bang Raylan? Did you sleep with Raylan Givens?
That would be the question, though, right?
Do you think so?
I think so. At least in Boyd's mind, right?
I guess. Does it really matter at this level of betrayal? Does it really matter if she slept with Raylan? Again, by the way, not something she hasn't done before, right? It's not like he hasn't been there before. So I don't know. I just thought that felt to me very kind of beta.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah. Make no mistake that it is a beta. But I think you have to understand, like, what is Boyd has always, this shows a little bit about him too, how really into Ava he is. He's into Ava a lot.
Boy, oh boy. Let's dig in on that though for a minute, right? Because this is one of my favorite topics about Justified is Boyd actually into Ava? Or is there something else going on? And I don't know what that something else is, whether it's just he's built her up like every other person in Harlan. He's built her up as this, this fantasy angel in his mind, or she was married to his brother and killed him. And so that makes her, a prize to be conquered, something to be conquered. Or if it's she was Raylan's, now she's mine. This is important for me. But after maybe last season and after what happens a few episodes from now, I don't know. I don't know if that's
is it possible it could be all of those things.
I guess it could. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. It can be more complicated than I'm making.
Yeah.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think are you banging Raylan is one of those things that goes back to however long that Boyd and Raylan have known each other.
Yeah, that's true.
There's the whole thing with the families and
rivalry, and they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, there's all of that. So
yeah, the only I would say it feels to me like the bigger betrayal here is the crime, right? It's the being the CI. Like, I feel like Boyd would have gotten over Ava banging Raylan if she wasn't giving all of his secrets away at the same time, right? But maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well,
I am a person who believes that Boyd loves the thrill of chasing money more than anything else in the world. And that includes Ava. It's not even so much getting the money, because he never actually gets any of the money.
No, he just wants the game.
He's like Wile E. Coyote, right? He's like a semi-competent Wile E. Coyote. It's all about the game.
Just waiting for him to run into the tunnel painted on the wall or whatever.
Yeah, well, he's done that a couple of times this season so far already.
Yeah.
And all of the Crows season was basically Boyd repeatedly running or running off the cliff and looking down, seeing there's no ground under him and falling.
Good point. Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah. So Ava casually and convincingly lies about not doing anything with Raylan, right? She has been manipulating Raylan in much the same way she's manipulating Boyd here, by saying, hey, we should get back together, and then kissing him in her kitchen right before Boyd came home. And she says, no, it was never about him. It's always been about you. And, you wonder how much truth there is to that. You don't know, right? Because Ava's shown to be in a completely untrustworthy sort of character at this point. You don't know what her plan is. You don't know what her individual truth is. So you don't know if she was really seducing Raylan, wants to be with Raylan, if it was a tactic to help her get out of trouble, if she really wants to be with Boyd, if it's a tactic to try and save her life. You don't know any of these things. And she's doing so well with it. I got to give her credit. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of levels, a lot of nuance to all the pressure that she has to react to.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think was it Ava who said that it's easier to give motherly advice than to actually mother? Was that
no?
That's Winona. That's Winona. That's right. We'll get to that in a minute then, because that's our Kentucky Fried Wisdom moment of the week, and I want to talk about that as somebody who's raised by boomers. So, all right. So that's the Boyd and Ava storyline. It picks up immediately again in the next episode. So we have a lot more to come there, and a arrangement essentially between Ava and Boyd as to how they're going to play things going forward. So, all right. So let's get into, let's get into the Walker manhunt. Yeah, let's get into the Walker manhunt. So the episode opens, if we remember at the end of the last episode, the marshals shot pretty much everybody in Markham's gang. Choo Choo made it away, but died on the train tracks. And Walker has escaped for the time being, at least. And so they are on the manhunt looking for Walker. Rachel has called in 50 additional marshals. And I think we had mentioned last episode that we thought that might have been a little bit excessive given the scenario. Well, then Rachel makes me look a fool by making an Eric Frein reference. And Eric Frein, I think it's Frein or Frein. I don't remember exactly how it's pronounced. I don't know if you remember this or not. This happened in 2014. He attacked Pennsylvania State Police barracks and shot and killed a state trooper and wounded another one. The attack happened on September 12th. They didn't apprehend him until like almost 3 weeks later, I believe. By the 17th, there were 200 officers involved in the hunt. By the 22nd, it was 400. And by September 24th, they had over 1,000 people, 1,000 law enforcement officers in Pennsylvania looking for this guy, including the FBI, the marshals, and the ATFE. They found a couple pipe bombs in the area where he was thought to be hiding, so they were worried about that. Total costs for the manhunt, $11.9 million, which I believe is roughly $1.2 billion in 2023 dollars. It was only 9 years ago, so I had to round down a little bit. But yeah, Jesus. Inflation, right? Yeah, Eric Frein is currently awaiting execution in Pennsylvania. So he was arrested, tried, and convicted of murdering the police officers, and is currently awaiting execution in Pennsylvania. So that's who she is referencing. So she doesn't want their manhunt for Walker to turn into that sort of catastrophe where 3 weeks later there's 1,000 people combing the forests of Kentucky looking for Ty Walker. And by the way, if Ty Walker gets away for 3 weeks, he's gone. You're never going to find that guy again. So
there is no Markinson like on.
That's exactly right. Yep, exactly right. Let's see. What do we got here? We got Raylan opts out of the manhunt because he's got a thing. And that's literally what he says. I've got a thing. I'm going to opt out. I'm going to take that day off that you gave me, or that you wanted me to take. And we find out that his thing is that Winona and Willa are in town. And Rachel makes a chasing our dicks reference, and Tim rightfully notices that it's somewhat unusual for a woman to say, I don't want us to be out here chasing our dicks. Yeah. It is, and at the same time, felt perfectly natural to me. I didn't really notice it until Tim pointed it out to me.
It did? I noticed it right away.
Oh, did you notice it right away? Oh, yeah.
And no, I didn't. Tim kind of like verbalized my thoughts.
Look, boss, you're the boss. You're allowed to say whatever you want, but I guess chasing vag has a whole different sort of connotation. But yeah, and so Walker's out. He's on the run. He is wounded, and he calls Markham and Seabass, and they put him on speaker. And Markham wants to know where he is, and Walker kind of figures out that means they're going to kill him. So he lies, says he's holed up in an old abandoned church in Corbin, tells Seabass where to find him. And then Markham attempts to buy Seabass's loyalty for $50,000. Gives him $50,000, tells them, hey, Walker's done. He's burned. There's nothing you can do to save him now. And you should go lay low somewhere because that prostitute, that sex worker, can identify you. and will identify you, and probably already has identified you to the police. So you need to get the hell out of here. I did wonder about that. Like, they would have had that woman in their custody, right? The marshals would have. They would have started to interview her, you would expect, and you would think that she would have identified Seabass by this point. So why is he able to